Hey guys, we're going to continue with chapter 8 here where we're going to be factoring these trinomials. Okay, so this says focus on factoring quadratic trinomials, which is in essence undoing FOIL. If you remember doing FOIL where you multiply two binomials, we're going to try to undo that. So the first thing that we need to work on is just list the pairs of factors of the C term, and then there's sums in the table. We're only looking at when this has an assumed coefficient of 1. We'll work our way up here. So for now, I'm just going to focus on 15. The way I want you to do this is we're going to make a table. So my 15 table is going to look something like this. I make it real informal. The book has a real formal way of doing it. That's fine if you want. I don't do that, but on this side, I write the factors. And then on this side, I write the sum of factors. Okay, so the factors of 15 always start with 1 in itself. So I get 1 and 15, which when added together is 16. Let's see, no 2, but then I get 3 and 5, which added together is 8. And that's all I'm asked to do on this part. List the pairs of factors of the C term, and then their sums on the table. So here it is. That's going to be the first part of what you're going to focus on today. So here's one for you to try. The answer will be up in 3, 2, 1. All right, so here's what I got. That's what you should have. Pretty straightforward on that. Not too difficult. Hey, it's been getting warm out. This is what I deal with after the winter when I decide to wash my car. So there's a big fat bird. It says, I see you washed your car. It would be a shame if someone crapped on it. Look at that bird. What a jerk. All right, so factoring x squared plus bx plus c when b is less than 0 but c is greater than 0. So when this happens, what we're looking at, if you're thinking of FOIL, if I have x and then some term that goes with it, and then another x and another term that goes with it, if this is positive, that means that these last two terms either had to be a positive times a positive or a negative times a negative. If this is positive, then the signs of these two things are going to be the same as this. So this is negative. So anytime this is positive, that means these signs, I don't know why I wrote it up there. Let's do that again. So x minus and then x minus. Anytime this is positive, then the signs of my two binomial or my operation in the middle is going to be the same as this. So I go ahead and just fill that in. From that point forward, what I'm going to do is write out those factors like I just had. Okay, so the factors of 24, we already did, was 1 and 24. That's a sum of 25. What I'm looking for in this column is this number. Now I know that all the sums here are going to be negative because this is negative, and I got a negative and a negative, but I don't write that. I just move along and find it till I get a sum of factors that equals 11. So 2 and 12 is 14. That one doesn't work. Let's see, 3 and 8 is 11. Hey, that's a winner. So what that means is that for reversing FOIL, the second term in both of these, one is going to be 3 and one is going to be 8. All right, so what I did there was just split this apart into this. Now, we could check this very quickly by FOILing. I have x times x, which is x squared, x times negative 8, and then x times negative 3, and then negative 3 times negative 8. And if I combine those like terms, I get x squared minus 11x plus 24. So that is all you're doing on that is just reversing that FOIL by listing the factors. Now some of you, if you know your multiplication facts very well, then you could probably find this very easily without having to write out that table. In fact, that'd be great if you could do that. But if not, always revert back to the table. So write out the table of all the factors of this term, and then find the one that has the sum of that. So here's one for you to try. The answer will be up in 3, 2, 1. All right, so here's what I got. Factors of 8 right here. 6 was the number I was looking for. That's based on this number. I'm looking for this number to match this number. And whatever those factors are, that's what goes in the second parts of these binomials. So what about if C is less than 0? Well, if C is less than 0, then what that means is that I'm going to have, hold on, I need to go back to something real quick. So on this one right here, I meant to go all the way through. Just real quick, if I'm going to list the pairs of this, and I find this one that's 11, just like we just did, that's going to be x plus 3, and then x plus 8. Since this last term right here is positive, then that means my middle things, my middle operations are going to be positive. All right, so that's very closely related to the one that we just looked at. That shouldn't be too shocking to you. It's the same thing as this, except instead of it being negative, it's positive. Now, what do we do if that last term is negative? I apologize for that, but what do I do if that last term is negative? Well, in that case, that means I'm going to have a negative times a positive because that's what creates a negative product. So one's going to be plus and one's going to be minus. Now, how do I know which is which? Well, it's related to the absolute value of this. If this is positive, then I know that the larger value is going to be positive. So let's go ahead and list out our factors of 15. The one difference on this is when this is negative, instead of looking for the sum, I'm now going to be looking for the differences. So 1 and 15 has a difference of 14. 3 and 5 have a difference of 2. Okay, so here I go. This matches this, so I fill in 3 in one of these and 5 in the other. Now, how do I know which is which? Well, because this is positive, my larger one's going to go with the positive. If it were negative, it'd be the opposite of that. So this is going to be x minus 3 and x plus 5. I know this is a lot to take in. Just make sure you're taking good notes. If you write out these factors, it makes it a lot easier. So here's one for you to try. Go ahead and pause. The answer will be up in 3, 2, 1. All right, so here's what I got where x plus 3 and x minus 7. I always get students to say it doesn't matter the order. Can I write x minus 7 first? Absolutely. That's perfectly fine. This one is minus 7 because this absolute value here is negative. Or it's a positive 4, but the negative is the value that I get from that. So the one with the greater absolute value must go with the negative in order to produce that kind of result. So let's keep moving. Here's an application. So the area of a rectangle is given by the trinomial x squared minus 2x minus 35. What are possible dimensions of the rectangle? So let's go ahead and look at this. Remember, a rectangle, to find the area of it is going to be base times width. So I'm just going to factor this. So I'm going to start out with my factors of 35. Notice it's negative, so I need differences. So I get 34. That doesn't work. 2 doesn't, is it divisible? 3, no. 4, no. 5, yes. And that has a difference of 2. All right, there it is. So I want this number to match. Remember, 1's going to be positive, and then 1's going to be negative. How do I know which is which? Well, this is a negative 2, so the greater absolute value of these must be the negative value. Okay, so the possible dimensions of the rectangle are going to be x plus 5 and x minus 7. This is my answer right here. Those are the side links that are possible for that. Let's keep going. What if you have this extra variable in here? The way you treat this is you do this exactly as if these are not here, and then you just tack on a y at the end. So let me explain what I mean by that. So I go ahead and it's negative, so that means 1 is a plus, and then 1 is a minus, and then I write out the factors of 55, and I'm finding differences, so I get 1 and 55, which is the difference of 54. I'm looking for 6. 55 is not divisible by 3, not by 4, but it is divisible by 5. So 5 and 11 has a difference of 6. Oh, there it is. Okay, so this matches with this. Because this is positive, 11 is going to be on my plus, and 5 is going to be on my minus. And all I do here is just tack on that y on the end. Okay, it doesn't really change anything you do because y times y is the squared. Y times the x in both of these is going to give me that xy in the middle. So you just tack the y onto the end, and it's really nothing any different than what we've been looking at. So that's it for today. I know that might have seemed weird. Go back and double check your notes. Make sure that you wrote really good notes on this one because you'll want to refer back to this on your checkpoint. Make sure you're asking questions in class. That's it for today. I'll see you guys in class.